I don't know what they're smoking over there at Princeton. The focus on ridicule.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive for any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Support this project at eplex.store via memberships or merch. Use the code NOWSPACE, all caps, to get 10% off of everything except for the Pride merch, because that stuff is a fundraiser. So, not giving you a discount on that because you're doing that to donate to Lambda Legal. We'll do that through the end of the summer, actually, because some places have Pride all the way through August. So, and every month we'll donate our portion to Lambda Legal. We did pretty well this month, thanks to a few people gifting out some shirts, a bunch of people buying them. And if you're a Patreon user and don't want to sign up for something new, I mean, you can make the mistake of using Patreon to support us, and I will take your money, but supporting us via Fourth Wall is way better. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr. I'll be invading your grid in Fremont, California in about a month. And how you doing, HK?
I'm doing great. My name is HK Perrin, and you can find me on Mastodon at hperrin@port87.social. It is missing a letter, yes.
Well, it is what it is. So I got an email that I replied to, but I'd like to reply to it on the show too. Somebody wrote me an email that was like, hey, why can't you cover these guru figures in an apolitical way like the Coding the Gurus podcast? And I said, well, that podcast is also available and you can listen to it as much as you want. Said I've even had Chris from that show on this show if you would like to hear both at the same time.
So we are explicitly not apolitical.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are far leftists.
I mean, maybe there's communists in our chat who might
maybe some of our chat is more leftist than us, but we're pretty far.
Yeah, especially
like,
in like
your
this
average Democrat, we're to the left of them,
and we're definitely to the left of this kind of critique sphere that has come up around the intellectual dollar or around the intellectual dark web. But like the idea that you're going to come to a show called the Intellectual Dollar Tree and get the same kind of content as like an anthropologist and a psychologist talking about these gurus, like you're not going to get the same content. You're just not. But you know, I was like, I encourage that person to keep listening to the show, but I doubt they will because they took the time to email me and complain that like we wear our politics like on our sleeve. In this case, my politics are a rainbow with my logo in the center of it.
Mine is just emptiness.
Emptiness. What is that? I forget what's that. Anyway, whatever. You're a cynic. We wear our cynicism on our sleeves too. Not during Pride Month though. Anyway, so we watched like a clip from this last week, and I was like, oh, maybe they're going to put the rest of it behind a paywall. Well, unfortunately for everyone out there, they did not put the rest of this behind a paywall. There's two of my least favorite people in the world and non-Oliver. This is Eric Weinstein. Non-Oliver is
non-Oliver's bad too.
Right, but he just doesn't, he's just kind of like an also-ran, you know? He's like an honorable mention in the worst person in the world category. Or a dishonorable mention.
His first name's Francis, right? What's his last name?
Foster.
Francis Foster. Okay. Yeah.
His first name is Non. His last name is Oliver. I don't remember. Somebody in chat came up with that. It was one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen.
He's like, if you order John Oliver off of Wish.com, he's what you'd get.
No, have you ever seen the ads for the new thing called Temu? Temu is like the Wish.com, Wish.com.
Like you order Wish.com off of Wish.com and you get Temu?
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough bants. People aren't here for us to banter. People aren't here for us. But hey, at least the banter isn't me telling HK to shut the fuck up this time. So that's great, right? I'm just kidding. You're a great co-host. I'm glad you jumped on this project. I enjoy doing it by myself.
I don't
sometimes.
mind when you tell me to shut the fuck up.
What?
I don't mind when you tell me to shut the fuck up.
I'm right some of the time.
Yeah, usually I'm talking too much when you say that.
You're off in fucking Narnia somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, here I've skipped the intro, and here's this is an hour 36. We aren't going to get to the whole thing during the regular podcast, but we may end up watching the whole thing. This is Eric Weinstein on the fucking Trigonometry podcast.
Have you on the show, Eric. It's been a long time coming. So exciting to have you here. But listen, for a lot of people who watch our show, you will be one of the IDW guys who was part of this sort of weird emerging thing a few years ago. And they won't actually know who you are exactly. They'll know you for the things you say. Well, what has been
what else?
I envy them.
As a public figure, what else is he other than the things he says as a public figure?
Well, he's more than just the IDW. He's also got the geometric unity, where he's currently revolutionizing physics. He's not there yet because he's in the stage. You know the old thing: first they laugh at you, then they dismiss, or first they dismiss you, then they laugh at you, then they say that you're right or whatever. He's still in the laugh at you part, and he's struggling to get past that part. They just keep laughing at him. Just no matter what he does, they just keep laughing at him.
leads you to be sitting here? Because you've done a lot of interesting things.
Right. So sometimes I try to avoid being known to the audience. I would say that by profession, I started off trying to do physics, but realizing that physics was in a terrible situation. So I ended up doing mathematics that allowed me to shadow the physics that I wanted to be doing. In a certain sense, a lot of who I am is a person who has believed deeply that the master narratives that govern our time have been getting weirder and wackier. And so I started, I would say, late 80s, early 90s, really exploring the idea that our institutions are much farther gone and much stranger and weirder than anyone expects. And because that has such a high social cost, or at least had such a high social cost.
Yeah, look at you all fucking poor. Alms for the poor. Alms for the, like, Peter Thiel, do you have an extra $2 million? Oh, man.
When you explored it at that time, it was kind of an open world. And I would say that people who had been particularly active in progressive politics were about the only people who believed that a lot of these structures were really far decayed, that the narratives were wildly off of what was actually happening. And I've tried tracking that, I would say, through economics, labor markets, financial instruments, political skullduggery, science, the ways in which the military complex interacts with all of these things, from art to physics to news. And beyond that, I mean, my personal life is something that I really probably care about even more than any of this. And all of these actions are really because I have children on this planet, and I'm deeply concerned that they have a happy, optimistic, and positive future. And I feel personally responsible for clearing away a lot of stuff that we're not supposed to talk about, because as we are increasingly seeing,
does he know that
thinking we were in
Peter Thiel is like actively trying to prevent that? And prevent his kids from having like a great future?
And also a Palantir. Interfaces with the military-industrial complex to a large degree.
Free society, but that is actually governed by these incredibly strong narratives that are clearly untrue, and they're very difficult to source as to why is it that so many people pretend to believe things that no one can believe in.
Why do people pretend they disagree with me is a crazy statement. Imagine that, HK. You're like, oh, you don't actually disagree with me. You're just pretending. You just want to believe the narrative.
Yeah, it's not even like you're too dumb to know that I'm right. It's like, no, you're nefarious. Regardless of what you say, I'm assuming that you're a bad actor and that you actually do agree with me, but you're saying that you don't because of maliciousness. It's that kind of idea that like everyone is out to get you. And I swear, it's like, this is not the only time that he's expressed that idea. Like, he really is like conspiratorial.
It's like, in fact, it's like the core idea that he expresses is that everyone is out to get him.
Yep. Specifically like science and like higher education. Like everyone in science and higher education just has it out for him.
I am explaining to you how everyone is out to get me from my penthouse.
An individual instance.
I hear you, and particularly on the feeling of responsibility now that I've become a father as well. Like I get it. I get it. But before we get into the narratives and the institutions and all of that, what was wrong with physics?
What's wrong with physics?
What was wrong with physics that
Same
made
thing
you do
that's wrong
maths?
with physics now. I mean, the fact is
that nobody listens to Eric.
The 50th anniversary of a couple of developments, one of which was February 1st, 1973, called the Kobayashi-Maskawa augmentation of the Kabibo angle, which introduced 3 families of matter into the standard model. But that picture of the matter in this room, who and what we actually are as waves propagating through this space-time that Einstein gave us, that model has been stagnant for 50 years. And as I was just saying on Joe Rogan, if you think about songs from that period of time, like Crocodile Rock or Tae...
Forgive me if I'm mistaken here, but we literally just added a fundamental particle to that model in 2012, the Higgs boson.
Yeah, and the other thing is if an idea in science stays stagnant for a while, it could be that the idea is fairly well fleshed out and correct.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. We haven't really upended the idea of evolution through natural selection in any sort of meaningful way.
Yeah.
Old oak tree. Imagine that playing on a continuous loop for 50 years without any real progress. And the underlying...
But there are radio stations that play the Crocodile Rock to this day, and not for nothing. That song is a bop. I would listen to the Crocodile Rock right now if I didn't have to do this podcast.
Of the world. That's a catastrophe, because it means that you replace all of the people who knew what science was with a group of people who will tell you, well, in science, this is the way things go, yet they have no understanding of science, having never contributed.
So why has it got to that stage? Why has this happened, Eric?
Wouldn't it have been great if Non Oliver would have said, so, what the bloody hell are you talking about?
Yeah, like name some names. Name some actual names. Who in science is not a scientist who's holding back the field of physics?
Someone in chat just said it sounds like they put Eric in the Large Hadron Collider.
Interesting question. Why does it happen furthermore across multiple fields? Why is it that, for example, evolutionary theory in terms of the sexual and natural selection theories, why did that stagnate when it tried to go into sociobiology and ran into political problems? Why is it that neoclassical economics hardened into dogma? In all of these situations, we have the fact that there was something that was going on late 60s, early 70s that ossified. And except in the fields of computation and communications, things largely stagnated. And it's hard to think about because so much of our lives are digital.
Yeah, man, there has been like zero progress in aerospace in the last 50 years. I can't recall a single thing that we've done in aerospace in the last 50 years that was notable. Certainly not, developing brand new rockets that are larger than any other rocket we've ever built that can actually get off the ground.
Just think of like the average efficiency of like a 4-cylinder engine for a vehicle, right? Like in the 70s, those cars were making
material science.
Yeah, those cars were making like, a 2-liter engine was making like 70 horsepower. Now you can go buy like a 2-liter engine car with no turbocharger on it with 280 horsepower that absolutely hauls ass and gets like 30 miles to the gallon.
Think about like the high-end cars. Like high-end cars back 50 years ago were made out of steel. What are they made out of now?
Aluminum.
Well, I mean like the outer body.
Well, aluminum.
They're made out of carbon fiber.
Well, the highest end cars, sure.
Yeah. I'm talking about like race cars, like the highest end cars, the ones that are designed to be as light as possible. They're made out of carbon fiber. Like carbon fiber wasn't around. It was around 50 years.
It wasn't ubiquitous.
When was carbon fiber invented?
It wasn't ubiquitous 50 years ago. It wasn't something like you can get carbon fiber on a $35,000 car. You can get Go ahead.
It wasn't as good.
Okay. But what, like, Eric doesn't claim to invent things in those fields, so they don't matter.
Yeah, Eric has literally no idea what's going on in the material sciences at all. Like, fucking no idea. And also, he's like hand waving away like electronics as if to say like any advancement in electronics was just a given.
And that's interesting considering how he's made all his money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like anything in like electronics or telecommunications, like all of those advancements, they were just gonna happen anyway. Humans barely even needed to be involved.
In fact, Peter Thiel's just a dumb fuck. Anybody could have figured it out. Well, yeah, okay.
These explosions in computation, we almost don't notice that feeling that the world is taking place at breakneck pace, at a breathtaking speed, rather. Sorry to confuse those two. That feeling derives almost entirely from our digital lives and the innovations in software and computation and artificial intelligence, all of those things. But
think about like medical science. Like I have a scar on my body from where my appendix was taken out, that if I got my appendix taken out today, I would not have that scar. I would have no scar at all. Well, there would be a very small scar. Like now they take out your appendix laparoscopically through like an incision in your belly button. So, well, 2 incisions, one in your belly button and one on your abdomen. But it's like a tiny scar that's like maybe a few millimeters or a centimeter large. I have a scar that's like 4 inches large because my surgery was in like 1998.
I never take screenshots during the podcast, but it looks like he's presenting to you the honest conversation sign that they have here. So I'm going to go ahead and take the screenshot of that. I hope that's okay.
Chat says my bikini line is ruined. That's not the thing that's ruining my bikini line.
That neon sign, that poster, the fact that we're filming in a studio, all of those things were possible in 1973. It might have been more expensive, but the
video might have been closer to a square.
Novel thing here is that you're able to push this out without a broadcast news station.
Wow. So, that says a lot about not only
like he's completely ignoring the fact that like we made a vaccine. Like to say that there's no advancements in medical science.
Well, he's not saying
is
that.
Like
he's saying physics.
He's essentially saying that. He's saying that medical sciences have stagnated because he said all the sciences except for computation has stagnated. So if you're saying that, you're completely ignoring the fact that we created a vaccine in like 10 months.
Yeah, but he's wishy-washy on whether or not that's a good vaccine. So,
But like that would be unheard of 50 years ago.
that's true. And also, like, I just feel like, I think I've said this like a million times when both him or Peter Thiel are talking, right? You look back on the past and you compress it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, just the way you think about the past, you compress time. Whereas when you're living through something, you feel every moment of it because you don't really have much choice except for when you're asleep or if you like get knocked out by something. So like it seems like things were progressing more quickly maybe in the past than they are today because you're not waiting like for a discovery. I don't know exactly how to say it, but it just, I feel like we compress the past, right?
Yeah.
About society, because if society's not innovating, it's effectively dying, isn't it?
Well, again, it's not that we're not innovating at all, but if you think about, the jetpacks, for example, that were featured in a James Bond film in the 1970s.
That's a fucking fictional film, you dumb fuck.
But also we actually have those now and they're real and they work.
We always wondered, when were we going to get personal jetpacks? We're still dealing with the idea that they're quite hard to stabilize. If you go to the...
No, we have personal... That's not the problem. We have personal jetpacks that you could buy a personal jetpack right now. The problem is that the fuel lasts for like a minute and a half, and it's incredibly noisy. It produces a massive amount of noise.
Completely space-age futuristic building that dominates the architecture. It's still the most futuristic thing in the city. I mean, we somehow took on a very different perspective at the future. I just was dealing with somebody involved in the relaunch of the DeLorean.
Do you see what I mean, though? Like, this guy is such a fucking moron. He has no idea what is going on in any field other than the one he is involved in.
The future. I just was dealing with somebody involved in the relaunch of the DeLorean Motor Company. And 40 years later, the DeLorean is still absolutely something that excites us because it is new. And
that's a new DeLorean.
No, that's the reason the DeLorean excites us is literally because of nostalgia.
And Back to the Future.
Yeah, nostalgia, specifically about the movie Back to the Future.
And that was in the car. The car company failed because the car was a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, like the reason people are excited about the DeLorean is because it's old.
And because so few of them are still roadworthy that seeing one is a pretty rare instance.
Yeah. Man, this guy is so thick-headed. Jesus.
On the idea that our lives could be filled with an exciting parade of major innovations. And I was just on stage in Miami at Bitcoin talking about...
Oh, that was great. Watch that talk. We watched him at the Bitcoin conference. That was amazing. If you didn't see that, if you didn't listen to that episode of it was called the Humblest Man in the World Talks About 3 White Papers. Oh, that's such a good episode of the show.
White papers that changed the world. And one of them is
I have frozen
the blockchain white paper from 2008.
Dave, can you hear me?
Called Attention is All You Need from 2017, which changed the
large language
model landscape. And one of them...
When something goes wrong during the podcast part of the show, the people that are listening to the podcast probably just leave and come back if something goes wrong during the podcast part of the show, please.
I mean, my browser is asking me whether I want to force quit it. So I'm going to do that. I'll be right back.
Cleavage sites and spike protein and coronavirus.
Wow.
So, which changed. One of them was something called Attention is All You Need from 2017, which changed the large language model landscape. And one of them was the 2018 proposal from the EcoHealth Alliance that we should start experimenting with furin cleavage sites and spike protein and coronavirus.
Wow.
You left that one for the end there. Yeah. Eric, one of the interesting things that you mentioned there is something that I think is part of this whole thing that confronts all of us who are trying to think about these things, which is our vision of our future and of ourselves has fundamentally changed. And I remember as a boy growing up reading science fiction about the great the great challenges that humanity would face as it expanded into the universe, and how
but that's science fiction, and it could still happen, Constantine.
A spin-off of your civilization, different planet, or as you introduce robotics, as you introduce this, new challenges come along. And it was almost taken for granted in that era, having just watched, first of all, my guys launch a man into space and your guys put one on the moon and all of that this would continue, that these vast breakthroughs in human achievement would continue. And now we sort of squabble about tax rates
but we're like up against like physical realities. Getting to the moon was hard, but the moon's pretty fucking close. You can get some pretty detailed imagery of the moon with a telescope in your backyard that you can buy for a couple $100. I mean, it's not like close like you could touch the fucking thing, but it's not, the moon isn't far like the other planets are. Like, it's the amount of energy that it takes to get to the moon isn't that huge, but the amount of energy that it takes to get to Mars or to Venus or something it's so much more that it's not surprising that it's going to take us quite some time to get there. Like, to get to the point where we're able to do it. Like, why is this surprising anyone?
There was a website that I really enjoyed, and I forget what it's called, but it's something like why is getting to Mars so hard? And it would let you scroll down from Earth, in scale. You'd see Earth, and then you'd see the moon, and then you'd scroll down, and you'd keep scrolling, and you'd keep scrolling, and like after like 10 minutes of scrolling, finally you'd see Mars. It's like, oh, yeah, that's really far away.
And we just learned what happens if you were to like haphazardly attempt to do something really, technically difficult with just whatever ideas you have in your head about it, Yep. So not only is it like just getting there is hard enough with, unmanned equipment or whatever, but like space is death. Anything goes wrong up there, you dead.
Yep. Not quite as quickly as the deep sea thing. If your submersible implodes in the deep sea, you just die instantly. Like, you don't even realize that you're dead. If you die in space, you kind of know you're gonna die for like 15 seconds before you do. So it's like, it's not only are you like sure to die if something goes wrong in space, but also you'll know that you're dying.
And, other things like you have to, if you're going to Mars, for example, you have to get along with everybody on that crew at all times, because if you start squabbling and having like interpersonal conflict, your mission's going to fail, possibly ending up with you being dead.
Yep. And I think the minimum trip out to Mars would be, I think it's something like 11 months, something like that. It's measured in like many months, not like 3 days, like to the moon.
Yeah. This is why we haven't, and it's not that we haven't made advancements either in this stuff. Like, the kinds of satellites and the kinds of probes and just machines that we're sending out into space are far more advanced than anything we've ever sent out before. The thing that's on Mars now has its own helicopter.
Which is super cool, considering that the Martian atmosphere is like 1/100th the pressure of Earth's atmosphere. So we actually made something that can fly through that. And
I'm not a physics expert, but I feel like there's some physics going on with that thing.
Like that.
Maddening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there was nowhere to go. You see, what did we really do? Did we put a man on the moon, or did we put a man on an ICBM and said it was a moon mission? At some level, that was also a giant fake.
What?
An intercontinental ballistic missile goes from one continent to the other.
Also, it is ballistic. It is a ballistic trajectory.
Right.
It launches and then follows a ballistic trajectory, a parabola. A trip to the moon is not parabolic.
Right. It's probably not a straight line, but it's not parabolic either.
Yeah. It's like a trip to the moon. You're going to go out to the moon and then like circle around the moon. And then it's kind of like a big figure eight, but you might make a few loops around the moon. kind of depending on if there's some guys down there that you want to pick up before you go back.
Right? Because we knew that there was almost nowhere to go. I mean, basically, there's the moon and there's Mars, and then you're out of range of anything interesting with chemical rockets. And I can even ask, if
What
you've
about
ever been to
Venus?
Joshua Tree in Southern California, you have an idea of what it might be like to be on Mars. It's beautiful, but it gets old pretty quickly. I think
That is not at all what it would be like to be on Mars.
What happens when you take a moonless night and you go out when there isn't a cloud in the sky and you lay on your back, maybe during a meteor shower, and you gaze up at the heavens and you think, why is it that Uruguay is on my bucket list when I can see the heavens? I'm seeing galaxies.
Because you can go to Uruguay.
Yeah, you won't die instantly if you go there without a
And I
spacesuit.
know that some of those are stars and some of them are galaxies. That's where we're supposed to be dreaming. And the only way to get out of here and to go find that and find out what the universe is physics. So while many things stagnated, the unforgivable thing that stagnated, the singular unforgivable thing, is our understanding of the most basic notion of who we are. When we lost the taste, and we're in the process of not only stagnating in physics, but killing the impetus to solve these problems. There's a new kind of ethos that says that to ask for an ultimate theory is immodest.
No, not to claim that you've created one is immodest.
Hold on. He went from we're no longer going to the moon to now everyone gets mad at me when I say that I figured literally everything out.
And to be fair, most people aren't mad at him. Anger isn't.
Yeah. Most people laugh at me when I say that I figured out everything.
It is fundamentally imperious. That really begins to scare me, that we start thinking about these things in terms of very personal negative characteristics of arrogance, of hubris. And you understand where it comes from, right? Because we did unlock this power. And in particular, in 1950.
I mean, we do all know that Eric Weinstein is the most humble man in the world.
He keeps winning the contest for it.
Yeah, 3 years running.
Keeps turning down the prize money, too.
The actual atomic bombs dropped on humans, tragic as they may be. But the potential tragedy of hydrogen weapons, with that, we came to understand we're really good at this. We're really incredible. And we have to watch ourselves. And I think that that's the right ethos, is that we need to work.
We're really good at blowing shit up in new and interesting ways. Thanks, Eric.
Ourselves. But to stop ourselves, we've now crawled into the valley of death. And the trick is to get out to the other side and to get to the cosmos and to start to feel that we're being invited to the world's greatest adventure.
Well, people might say, and
What the fuck is he talking about? Like, we can't go to Mars. We can't.
Not right now.
Not with right now.
Yeah, people are working on it, and it's hard. And that's the part I think Eric doesn't want anything to do with, actually, is the part where it's hard.
Like, we can, like, without a doubt, we could get a human being onto the surface of Mars. They might even still be alive. But there is a 100% chance that if they're not dead already, they would die on Mars if we did that with today's technology. So, like, what the fuck is he asking? Is he asking, like, someone to volunteer to go die on Mars?
No. He thinks we've talked about this before too. He ascribes to this like great man of history, and I do mean man, like idea, where he just thinks that like we're not listening to whoever the smart Mars guy is. And if we just listen to the smart Mars guy, probably someone known to him, right? That we would just be on Mars right now. I think like that's where all this comes from, is this really like false idea that very brilliant individuals have driven history, and it hasn't been societies and culture that have driven history.
well, people might say, and I mean, I have some sympathy with this argument. You made it yourself only a few minutes ago, which is the pace of change is such that we are rapidly developing technologies that are breaking the world around us. If you look at the impact social media has had on the way that human beings communicate, I mean, nuclear weapons is another example, of course, but you could give others where the technological progress we make is so disruptive to our world that I don't blame people who think, why don't we just slow down a bit?
And tell me something. When your wife's water broke, what was your sense of like, oh shoot, we got to stabilize this situation. How do we make sure that our child can stay in here forever? No, it's an invitation.
What the fuck? But we know how birthing works, Eric.
That is such a dumb metaphor. What the fuck? Like, even if he was right that people are thinking to themselves, let's just stagnate here, that's still a dumb metaphor. And he's wrong. Like, no one thinks that. Well, I'm sure some people think that, but like the majority of the population is cool with progress, at least some amount of progress.
Right. And it's just that not everyone thinks that Eric is the key to progress.
Yeah, in fact, I think probably only one person thinks that Eric is the key to progress.
And if you're going to interview him, you have to at least act as if during the interview.
Yeah.
Water just broke. Yeah. What could happen next could be absolutely deadly. But to not understand that it is now time to call the hospital, to get that bag together, to run like hell, to care about those less fortunate than ourselves because they may be incapacitated. I don't think we're understanding what this moment
So
is.
I think what he's saying is if you're not cool with sending someone to die on Mars right now today, then you're also not cool with people being born? Like you would stop someone from giving birth?
It's 4 amino acids and 12 nucleotides that shut down planet Earth. Whether or not that came from a pangolin or a laboratory does not matter. It's a tiny change that led to a virality. This is the leverage level that we're now talking about, where a tiny change in the world with a large enough lever, Archimedes was simply right.
Like, has this dude never heard of the Black Death?
You know, in the Jewish tradition, I have at least something I can say, which is don't wait for the bread to rise. This is your moment. You're being invited out.
But sometimes if you wait for the bread to rise, you get a different kind of bread. And that's fine too. Both kinds of bread are fine.
Yeah. But yeah, like that's how pathogens work, Eric. Yes. One tiny little pathogen can cause massive devastation. Yes. That is how pathogens work.
But Eric, well, look, and I'm not a scientist and my background isn't in science, but I see AI and the rise of AI. And to me, and look, I'm of a slightly, pessimistic mindset.
Okay.
He's a fucking depressor, is what he is, isn't it?
But I see AI and I find it terrifying. I find it terrifying the effect it's going to have on people's jobs. The fact that it's going to obliterate a lot of jobs. What effect is that going to have on society? Am I right?
You just lost your capitalist model.
What?
You have a model with two inputs called K and L that's taught in every university that subscribes to neoclassical economics. What's AI? Is it L? Is it labor? Is it capital? What the heck is it? This is the first time
It's going to be capital.
Yep.
humans are not being chased into higher and higher levels of work. We're being chased out of repetitive work, whether it's high-level repetitive work in the way that a neurosurgeon might perform, or low-level repetitive work. So your model of economics just broke. Now, when your wife's water breaks, it doesn't mean that the baby is born instantly. When the contractions are coming, 15 minutes apart, it's not yet time to be born. This is the moment. Why are we not holding a conference on after capitalism and communism? What is the next economic system? Do you imagine that Adam Smith and Karl Marx would just be sitting on
people
their hands?
do
No, they'd
think
be
about
smart
that
enough
and
to
talk
say,
about that
okay,
all
we
the
now
time.
need a new model. It is bizarre that we are sitting here inert saying, gosh, this is going to break capitalism. Well, no kidding. This is going to break capitalism.
Apparently, also, this dude's never heard of Star Trek, because that's like a large portion of the philosophy of Star Trek. Like, what happens when humans aren't required to do like menial labor jobs?
And that frees us to explore the universe, but it's also fiction.
Yeah, but like it's philosophy. So like to say that no one is thinking about this, like you have to completely ignore like it's not just Star Trek too. You have to completely ignore like a huge portion of like literature and philosophy from the past half century.
And not for nothing, there's probably economists thinking about this too.
Yep. Yeah. So again, I think he's just so monumentally ignorant about everything that exists outside of his own little segment of like, you know, his own industry.
But his industry is like smelling his own farts.
Yeah, if you asked him, has there been any improvement in your farts in the past 50 years, he could probably go on for hours.
That's what I'd ask him first if I had an hour with him where he had to answer my questions.
Going to break capitalism. And you have this fabric. It's really fascinating. You have a fabric that is overlying the entire world that directs people whether to get up in the morning and what to do once they do rise. And it tells them how to do things without having a dictator. So it's not just the invisible hand, it's the invisible mesh. And this invisible mesh, if it breaks, means people are not going to know what to do in the morning. And now you can see that this is going to
sleep till noon, problem solved.
break it. And you have a brief period of time with what my wife has called, she's an economist with the Institute for New Economic Thinking. She says this is the golden age of AI complementarity, where a human being making prompts can ask the large language model or neural net, whatever you like, questions, and the two of them in dialogue can create something. It's sort of like when humans and computers started playing chess together. This is going to quickly give way to where the AI says, I can take it from here.
And how quick do you think it's going to be, Eric?
Probably pretty quick. But keep in mind that there's some things that could happen. Because what these machines are doing is reading a human corpus, when it comes to language models, let's say, it could be that they asymptote based on how clever we've been. For example, they don't do a very good job in areas where there are fewer than 200 people writing about a very high-level scientific subject. So I ask these computer models a lot about determinant line bundles, not something in general conversation. And they're terrible at it because they don't know what to read or how much, they don't have enough. So it's possible that that could asymptote.
Because they don't know what to read?
Well,
this guy has no idea how AI works.
Well, it's just that they're not being fed this stuff because they won't. It's early
like,
days.
AI doesn't read things when you ask it questions.
And they've already been fed basically the answers.
Yeah, it's just going on its training data and it's just predicting the next word that it's going to say over and over and over again.
That's sort of like what Eric does.
Really have to keep in mind is that a clever person at one of these AI outfits might figure out how to teach computers to do things that no one has done. So we know that they have emergent behaviors, that you may not teach them Bengali, but they realize they have to learn Bengali in order to tell you about Tagore, so learn Bengali they do. That's an emergent behavior. What happens when they start to, I hesitate to give you an example because I think this could be weaponized. So maybe I'm not going to say what I think.
It's a good thing nobody takes you seriously. Give us whatever example you want, Eric.
All hell's about to break loose. And my question is, are you trying to figure out which way the wave is going to break and get your surfboard in the water? Are you trying to figure out how to anticipate this? No, in general, we sit around worrying about it in the most inert way possible. And I just don't understand the learned helplessness. This is, your wife's water is broken and you're thinking, this is terrible.
So now it's no one's working on AI? Is that...
I think he's sort of going back and forth between like regular people and the folks who are programming AI, but regular people might be not, I don't understand AI very well, and I'm not too terribly worried about it, but I could see where someone would be, but like, okay, so what? You know what I'm saying? Like like what he's saying is meaningless almost.
I think also he has a very incorrect notion of what AI is, and he's extrapolating from his incorrect notion as to what AI will be able to do in the next like 5 or 10 years. And that is incorrect.
Right. He almost thinks like it's like Skynet, like artificial, like full on artificial general intelligence, where it has like agency of its own. And I don't know much about AI, but I don't think it's there. I don't think it's even close.
It is not there.
And I don't even know if it's possible. And neither do you.
I would put my money on that it is possible, but we're not there yet.
Agreed. Temperamentally, I'm with you. But I think what Francis is getting at is, look, I introduced you as one of the smartest people in the world. I stand by.
Well, why did you do that?
And also some other smart people.
Oh my God.
We haven't had a good laugh like this on the podcast part of the show in quite some time, have we?
Man, why did we skip the introduction?
I believe him that he said it, though. I usually think Constantine's a liar, but I believe that he said that.
Do you think he believes it?
I think it's probably in the rider that they signed before having Eric on.
Some of whom are saying, we got to shut this shit down right now. We need a moratorium. We can't allow this
How's
to go.
that working?
I don't agree. That
No, I'm not saying whether it's a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, how is it working when China
Exactly.
and Russia and Iran are reading these papers?
That's why it's not going to work, and I agree with you. But our question that we're trying to get
That
at
is not the problem.
why
Here,
is
let's pause it for a second. That's not the problem. The governments could all agree to shut it down. That's something the governments could do, and the governments could shut down all the research. And that's all well and good. The problem is a lot of this stuff is already open source, so it doesn't matter if they shut it down.
Right.
Like, I could go and start doing this research and building these models. The only difference between like me doing it and like one of these big companies is that up until now, and currently still like almost, it is prohibitively expensive for me to train a model, like to train a base model. It's not expensive for me to train a model, like to like special train an existing base model, but it's prohibitively expensive for me to train my own model. It costs somewhere in the realm of like $200,000 to $500,000 to train one of those models.
concerned about AI.
Because he's smart. Because he doesn't see anybody really. I mean, look, I don't know. Elon and I are sort of leading parallel lives. He must be aware of me. Sometimes he answers me on Twitter, and sometimes we encounter each other in spaces. But we know probably 25 people in common at a very high level. We never encounter each other. I can't tell you what's going on with Elon. Elon is on all of the major narratives, and I 90 to 95% agree with him on everything right up until the very end. And I don't know why that goes wrong. But his whole narrative about getting off the planet and diversifying the number of places where the spark of human consciousness can be found without having all of our eggs in one basket, 100% right. And then it becomes Mars. Which loses me, but then again, I don't own a chemical rock.
Except the physics isn't there, and the reason is because nobody listens to Eric.
In the case of AI, the fact is he was seeing this early, and he saw Sam Altman make these other decisions. They were all at this point.
And also, he keeps saying like chemical rockets as if we have some other alternative. Like currently, we have no alternative than chemical rockets. The only thing that can get you to space right now is chemical rockets.
Well, and to be fair, like anything that exists is going to be made out of chemicals anyway. So like, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, but there are like some like there's this thing, I forget what it's called, but basically it spins a payload around really fast and then throws it out into the atmosphere. And that has some promise, but certainly that's not going to be used to get humans to space. It would liquefy you.
Rico conference, but all of these folks who were at the Puerto Rico conference knew that this was coming. Now, 2017 is the dividing line, I think, in AI, because this paper, Attention is All You Need, makes it clear to all of us, not through the paper, but through the consequences, that this is as real as a heart attack.
So what are the consequences?
Say more.
So, for instance, you said the consequences are as real as a heart attack.
Because you now have ChatGPT, you don't need to read a paper about what academically can happen. You can sit in your room and come up with the most twisted question you like and watch what unfolds. You can watch it fail to do things like it doesn't seem to know how to do palindromes very well. Palindromes are very hard. If I give it a piece of typeset mathematics and ask it to generate the code that would give that, it doesn't seem to know how to do that yet. It doesn't seem to know how to do very specialized quantum field theory questions.
But that's because it doesn't know anything, Eric.
Well, I mean, he's using it colloquially. And yeah, it's like, yeah, it doesn't know those things because it's not trained on those things. It's trained on just like general text from the internet.
I asked it, I was told that it doesn't have a social intelligence. And that may be, but I asked it.
It doesn't have any
Does
intelligence.
this query make my ass look fat? And it didn't want to answer. It says, I'm a large language model. It's an inappropriate question. I said, what if I was a husband being asked, does this dress make my ass look fat? And it says, very often when a woman is making this query, she's not asking for an actual piece of information. She's engaging in a form of signaling as a test to see whether the person is sensitive enough to understand the reason, as well as being truthful enough to give credible affirmation or something like this. And I thought, okay, well, score one for the computer. Now, whatever those things are, you can now test to see this is real. You can ask it to do it in a language you know that happens to be obscure. The fact that it made it concrete means that we're no longer arguing about whether this thing can write a credible short story. We know that it can.
Wow. So what does that mean for people who want to be artists, for people who want to be creatives?
Why do you want to be an artist?
Because I would say because art
Tough childhood.
Tough childhood, exactly. Because art is an expression of the human soul.
You can continue to express.
IKEA exists. What does that mean for people who want to be carpenters?
Might express itself in a way that dwarfs your.
They can still be carpenters?
Does that affect how you feel about your own output? Or, for example, if it writes a beautiful love letter, but you know that it is soulless in your terms because it's a bit of linear algebra with nonlinear function theory thrown in, does that change the meaning, the poignancy of the words? What is a really moving lyric to you?
A really moving lyric to me. For instance, I think is actually a soccer manager said this: simplicity is beauty. So, for instance, even though it was a cover, but the Motown song, I heard it through the grapevine.
Which part of it?
I know a man ain't supposed to cry, but these tears I can't hold inside. It's so simple and clean.
That song was a failed song for multiple tries. In fact, Berry Gordy, I believe, said that the next person who mentions that song gets fired. Gladys Knight almost got that song to the point of stardom because the Pips had this thing where it's, oh, yes, I am, yes, I am. And it would echo as it would get fainter and fainter. It was genius, but it wasn't as cool as when Marvin Gaye was given the same song a half step or a whole step above where he could sing, so he was forced to reach and stretch. And then you have the Halloween violins at the beginning that set the tone for this thing. Right? And what was it about that song? It's the fact that you've got the minor sixth, the fifth, and the fourth.
It was the bass line, sir. The bass line.
Plan to let me go.
No, don't
For
sing.
the other guy you knew before.
Yeah, can you skip
What
this?
is it about that song? Is it the breaking of the voice, or is it about the particular aspects of the chord progression? Is it about
The whole song, but also the bass line.
Why did the song fail 4 times before it actually succeeded? You have to ask yourself
bassist.
questions. You could do that with any song, and I would have some sort of a similar story. My feeling about this is, did you ever get behind that song? Did you ever
No.
wonder why it worked?
To me, I always put it down to the unique beauty of Gay's voice, which I think is just
You
this.
heard it stripped?
Yes,
What do you think of that?
I think it's phenomenal.
It's
Strip.
phenomenal. It's a revelation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your point, Eric?
Yo, fucking rare fucking W for Constantine.
Yep, that was good.
Rare Constantine W. Watch Eric throw his mic and walk off.
I don't know whether it's the chord progression, which the thing can clearly do, or the fact that I believe that Gay is straining and feeling what he's doing. I don't know whether it's the fact that this seems like a human expression, but he didn't write the song. Somebody else is there. He animated the song. So it really has to do with the context.
Okay.
And my claim is maybe this thing will come up with a better lyric or a better chord progression, but it'll matter less to you because it didn't come from a human heart. I'm saying that you're going to have to start picking apart the essence of each song or poem or story.
Oh, absolutely not.
So the title of this segment is AI art still art? And I don't like that question because it's meaningless and stupid. You can't define art. You cannot. There is no definition of art. So asking like, is this thing art? You're going to get, if you ask 100 different people, you're going to get 100 different answers. I guess some of them might just say yes or just say no. But like, if you ask someone, why is this art? Like, everyone's going to give you a different answer. So like, is AI art still art? Sure. Yes. But also no.
So I'm like, one of the genres of YouTube videos that seem really popular that drive me actually fucking crazy is where they'll spend like 45 minutes with some producer or a musician and a producer or whatever, and they're just going to pick apart the way in which a song was put together. I'm like, this is very uninteresting to me. And it's just my personal, even that's crazy because I used to produce music, right? I wrote dance music for a while, failed at it pretty miserably. And I'm a DJ, but I think that like, I think that him saying that we're going to have to pick everything apart, no, I don't care. If I'm like scrolling through Beatport looking for like a breaks track, and if that shit is hot, I don't give a fuck who wrote it, what machine wrote it. I don't give a shit. I'm like, is this going to rock the fucking dance floor? And if the answer is yes, then the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think a much better question here would be, are you okay with enjoying AI art?
My answer is yes.
Yeah. Like I would imagine most people would say yes, but I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe most people would have a problem with AI art. I have no problem with AI art depending on how it's produced. There are certain things that like make it unethical, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy any AI art.
You to feel that it's art if it was written by linear algebra.
Okay. What if we go outside of the realm of art and into the more practical and tangible things? I mean, you talk about the end of capitalism, and that makes sense. And if you look at what, communism or fascism or whatever, they're all responses to the economic circumstances that they encountered, right? Sure. So they're a way of trying to deal with the fact that you've got an industrial revolution and suddenly everyone goes into factories and now these people are there and they're now in cities and all of it comes out of that, right? So we're going to have a new whatever.
A new whatever.
But there's a lot of breaking that happens first.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of breaking.
Sure. I mean, one of the things that we haven't explored is my need to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Because before...
It's purpose and meaning for a lot of people.
I had so much work to do that I never had to worry about my need to work.
Yes.
But when somebody says, look, take the rest of your life off.
Yeah.
You can watch TV, you can hang around the pool, and suddenly, maybe your wife is looking at you thinking you're kind of useless. I kind of liked it better when he was going out and killing mastodons and dragging them back to my cave. And now you've got a new need, which is, okay, well, should we make some work for you that doesn't need to be done? Should we find you some busy work? Right? That's humiliating. So now you've got a dignity shortage. You've got a purpose and dignity shortage. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying is, assume that you had all of this work removed from your shoulders, but you knew that you were going to die on this planet because your water had broken. When do you start getting excited about breaking wildly new ground? When do you start thinking about taking fantastic risks, huge chances, things that are noble enough to reacquaint ourselves with the idea of a quest?
When I'm fairly certain that the thing I'm in is not going to implode and kill me.
When I listen to As Time Goes By, and it says...
I mean, again, he's talking about sending people to Mars to just go die there.
Old story of fight for love and glory. I'm not allowed to say glory. I'm only allowed to say glory if I support Ukraine. I get to say Slava Ukraine because Slava means glory to Ukraine. I can't say glory to America. So we've been cut off.
Why?
From our concept of questing and glory and winning and triumph and all of these things because it's been associated with the negative externalities of such things.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, yes, it's an opportunity, but...
I mean, you can say glory to the U.S., but we're not in a war, so...
If I look around at the world,
kind of
a lot of people find themselves
meaningless?
in jobs and things that don't offer them any of that.
Such as?
You know, checking tickets on a train. You came here on a train today.
I came here on a train today.
Wait, what if the person has like a sense of public duty and that's why they want to check the tickets on the train? They want to work for the public. So now they want to work in public transportation, and the jobs that were available included checking tickets on the train. They're like, I could do that. That sounds good. I want to go work for the public transit agency.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people who work in like sewage treatment plants who feel very passionately about like the duty to their community. Haha, I said duty. And, you know, the technology that's used in these plants. One of my friends actually did that job, and she was like very proud of what she did as a job. So like, yeah, pretty much every job, except maybe working for Eric Weinstein, like someone's going to be proud to do it.
And like I say about meaning, we just have to make our own meaning, because otherwise, then what? What if we're not making meaning for our lives? Then, like, I don't know, we all become nihilists. I mean, that wouldn't be so bad, I suppose, as long as everybody's a nihilist.
Somewhere, somebody's checking tickets on a train, listening to your podcast, saying, I love Eric. I listened to all of his stuff. I started buying books on quantum theory. A huge percentage of my audience is plumbers, electricians, long-haul truckers, people who solve problems every day. They're often not in highly repetitive tasks. You get called in to be an electrician or a plumber in a house you've never been at, and it's got some set of problems you've never encountered before. A lot of those people...
But those people aren't reinventing plumbing, Eric. They're applying what they've learned before about plumbing to to fix a problem in a house that they haven't seen before. And I guarantee you, somebody else has already seen a similar problem and solved it, and they might contact somebody that they know. They're like, hey, I know you were we were out having beers or whatever, and you told me about this thing you were working on, and it sounds like the thing I'm working on seems a little bit close to it. Would it be okay if I pick your brain for a little while? I'll pay for the first round. That's good. That's how industries work. Is a lot of times like the relationships that you form with other people in that industry help you solve new problems, because you can apply what you've learned, apply what they've learned to the extent that you can, and then fucking remix it a little bit to solve a new problem. This is a really weird analogy.
And even in jobs where let's say civil engineering. Like, yeah, you might be solving a brand new problem. You might be approaching an existing problem in a brand new way, but you're not doing it off the cuff. You're not just winging it. Like, you're doing it based on like centuries of knowledge that have accumulated in that field. And he's just saying, like, we should just throw all that away and just kind of just wing it. Let's just fling people towards Mars. Maybe they'll hit it.
Are fit to be part of this army. And I just think that actually we've got so much human creativity that is stuck in these jobs that we don't respect.
Yeah.
But I've learned to respect these jobs so much.
I respect the ticket guy on the train. Why doesn't he respect the ticket guy on the train? What the fuck?
He just said the ticket guy on the train listens to his podcast too, or listens to Trigonometry.
Like, even if the ticket guy on the trains listens to Trigonometry, I still respect him.
Or at least the work.
Yeah. Like, fuck you, Eric. You should respect those
My
people.
audience is studying spinners and differential operators in between, Uber assignments or something like this. It's very interesting.
Hey, Francis, do you want to learn another language?
Wait, does he not respect his Uber drivers either?
Only if they're like trying to unify physics in their spare time.
Like, even if someone has no aspirations of doing something other than like a service job, I still respect that person.
Well, first of all, why don't we create some
And
art
he
for
should
them?
too. What the fuck? We all
That
should.
way. What do we do with those people who, for whatever reason, are not that way inclined, Eric, who can't access these type of technologies or these type of industries? Because that's going to prove a real problem.
Well, first of all, why don't we create some art for them that excites them? Why don't we use art to reacquaint ourselves with the possible? I really feel like the artists have fallen down on the job.
What the fuck? Yo, I have a library of music here that people have made that they're not getting paid for. This library, and they're all within like 100 miles of me. There's 1,800 songs, and most of them are really good. What the fuck more does Eric want from the art community?
Also, like, there are more. I think there are more sci-fi movies coming out now than there ever have been in the past. Like, the sci-fi genre, the genre of like looking forward and seeing what's possible, imagining these new technologies that don't exist. Like, that genre is the largest it's ever been. I'm pretty sure.
I feel like today's art is in general not reflecting our time, and as a result, it's becoming less and less relevant, and then people get more and more adamant that no, art has never been more relevant because they know that it's become less and less relevant.
And what do you mean by that? That it doesn't reflect our time? Let's explore that.
Okay, so when the Erie Canal was dug, there were lots of songs about the Erie Canal. When the trains came in, there were lots of songs about trains. Tell me that we don't have a million songs about cars when people were getting cars in the 1950s and they spoke of independence. All right. What are your favorite app songs?
I mean, but can anyone write a song about an app, Eric? Is an app...
Yo, there's tons of music about the internet and fucking social media. You dumb fuck. I can name songs in my local music library that are about, not necessarily it's an app song, but it's we have a song by Dirtbag Dan called Socials, and it's about social media. We have a song by fucking G. Willikers called Emoji, and it's about the beginning of the pandemic and technology. Like, and these are local artists who I know, but you know what I mean? I didn't have to go looking for it. They emailed it to me. Was Eric just not listening to any fucking music?
And then how about we talk about how like smartphones and social media has influenced like visual arts? Is he really going to say that there's like no visual artistry that has like no one paints anything about like smartphones and social media? No one sculpts anything that has to do with like social technologies?
There's no films that involve these things?
Yeah, like fuck off, Eric.
Move you in order to write a song about it?
There are apps that govern your life right now.
I know, but my point is that a great artist
That's what I'm
takes
agreeing
our
with.
time
Yeah.
and changes it into something that matters. I asked Sean Lennon.
You
why don't
can't
you
be
write
a great
song
artist unless you write a song about Facebook.
It's our time, and he wrote Boomerang Baby. That was his attempt. She's never dated someone before a thorough search of Google. The only time she's found in church is when attending her own funeral. It was speaking to a godless time where the apps were fully integrated. Was that song highly successful? I don't know. But when Drake says, "You used to call me on your cell phone," he's trying to take the fact that there is some way, Are you going to swipe right by me, baby? I don't know what that lyric is. It's hard. But then again, the Erie Canal, you know, it's not like it's the high seas and, the Erie was a rising and the gin was a getting low, and I scarcely think we'll get a drink till we get to Buffalo. You had to make that into something. And so my feeling is our artists aren't up to the task of turning Waze and Google Maps into something that I care about.
Isn't it also the problem as well, and a lot of musicians have told me this, that
he's comparing the Erie Canal with Google Maps.
And there's tons of songs about hookup culture. There's songs that reference Craigslist hookups that I can think of from there are a lot of hip hop songs that reference like Craigslist hookups and stuff. So just because Eric doesn't know about this music or this art doesn't mean it's not out there, and it doesn't mean it's not great. He seems like he's not plugged into the culture.
Yeah, he is impressively ignorant. Like ignorant to a degree that I'm like legitimately like in awe.
And like it's the other thing is, again, we're looking back on the past and compressing the past, right? There was probably a lot of meaningless music, or music that he would have at the time called meaningless, when the song, about the, low bridge, everybody down, you're coming to a town. It's that song about the Erie Canal. There was probably a bunch of stuff that he thought was that he would think was meaningless was happening back then. He's not there to listen to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like why, like, a lot of people think like, oh, my parents lived in this time where like all these great songs came out, and like how come they're not making great music like that nowadays? But like, first of all, there is great music nowadays. Second of all, have you listened to the B-sides from a lot of those albums?
Right.
They're
again, it gets compressed. There's a pop channel about 60s music is compressing 10 years of music into one radio station. Whereas like a pop channel now isn't really doing that. They're playing what's new, what's popular. That's what new pop music is. It's what's new and popular. And some of it's going to stand the test of time, and some of it people are going to forget about. That's just music, baby. That's I'm sorry.
Well, again, like it's mind-blowing. I am so impressed at how ignorant Eric can maintain himself. Like he must actively seek to not learn new things.
Waze and Google Maps into something that I care about.
Isn't it also the problem as well, and a lot of musicians have told me this.
But also, like, why the fuck would someone write a song about Waze? Like, comparing that to someone writing a song about a canal is stupid. Like, a canal is a public good.
Also the problem as well, and a lot of musicians have told me this, that in order to write the idea of a song that is a hit song has changed. Like, for instance, a classic pop song is around 3 minutes or 2 minutes 30. But now everything has to be designed for TikTok, so everything has to be under a minute or 40 seconds, and that's completely transforming the way we appreciate music.
I heard.
Well, gee, why the fuck was everything 4 minutes before? Could it be that was what fit on a 45?
Or that the radio didn't want to play your 9-minute fucking rock symphony because they wanted to play a variety of music on the radio station. And songs aren't 45 seconds. You could go to look at any album. Songs are not 45 seconds. The pop tune is still 3 or 4 minutes long.
I mean, someone might write songs that fit into these 45-second like TikTok videos. But like, people write songs for the technology of the time.
And
like, there's a reason that pop songs are 4 minutes long. And he doesn't fucking realize that.
And another thing is, just because you only get the minute of it on TikTok doesn't mean that person didn't write a 4-minute song out of what you saw on TikTok.
Yeah.
I was discussing this with Winston Marshall, formerly of Mumford and Sons. The fact is that you had a snippet that used this unusual Phrygian dominance scale, which was Mommy don't know Daddy's getting hot at the body shop, doing something unholy, which is basically Hava Nagila or Miserlou, right? And that lyric couldn't be supported by the song because the song couldn't sustain the interest. That's no way to live. But on the other hand, we have a barbell of attention. We have the inability to get through a longer tweet and the ability to watch Game of Thrones with the longest character developments anyone's ever seen, far dwarfing a movie and approaching, what you do in spectacular fiction. We have to recognize that just as attention deficit disorder actually contains the ability to concentrate on something for months, with laser focus, it's misnamed. We think that our attention spans have shrunk to nothing. No, we're just really easy.
I have that disorder, and it's not misnamed. What he's talking about is hyperfocus, and that is part of having attention deficit disorder.
Or it can be.
Yeah, like that is one of the that is one of the symptoms of it, like hyperfocus, where basically you become fixated on something to the point that you can't focus on other things. You can't break yourself out of that. But like that is only one aspect of a disorder that includes a number of aspects, and not everyone who has the disorder experiences hyperfocus.
And it's also the case that when we talk about attention deficit disorder colloquially, we're talking about it in a different way than a mental health professional might diagnose it.
Yeah. So like in the DSM, there actually is not ADD anymore. They're all classified under ADHD. So if you're diagnosed with it now, you're diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
And and this that whole thing about like art and music, it's just very clear to me that he's not engaged in any of the pop music of today. Lizzo, for example, it's just fucking groundbreaking what Lizzo is doing. I don't even like the music that much, but I can recognize that it's fucking groundbreaking. I can hear one of her songs and be like, that's a good song. It's not, my kind of music or whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's not like some groundbreaking thing. He's like one of those people, and I'm so glad I never became that person who just won't listen to new music. I don't know if, do you know anybody, you're approaching that age where you might have friends who only listen to the stuff that you listened to when you were in like high school or the first couple of years at university, and they don't listen to nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, whatever. But if you're doing that, that's one thing. Okay. I like some of the songs of my youth too, but I don't go, oh, well, music sucks now because it's not Nirvana or whatever. Like that's sort of what he's doing. It's a version of that. Yeah. And that's really closed-minded, and it's really closed-minded. And I think it's a sign of like the stupidity, honestly, not like hearkening, not like the nostalgia of liking the old stuff, but like just convincing yourself that the new stuff sucks. I think that just means you're stupid.
I think it's definitely a sign of ignorance. So like he is profoundly ignorant. Like I was saying, it legitimately impresses me how ignorant he is. Yeah.
There's music coming out today that's going to be thought of in the same way as that Erie Canal song that he mentioned. We just don't know it yet because we don't know what's going to stand the test of time. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, music and art. Like there's tons of art that is like profoundly meaningful to the times right now. That like I guess he just doesn't see, or he doesn't even believe that it exists. Like it is amazing to me that I swear to God, you have to actively try to be that ignorant. Like you can't just naturally be that ignorant.
I think it's just like he's doing these, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but he's doing that thing where somebody just like, oh, the music was best when I was growing up and everything new sucks, And it's like, well, that's what
back in my day.
That's why I'm just so glad. I think like being a DJ and then getting involved in the local music scene just absolutely made that impossible for me. Like made it, there's no possible way that was going to happen because I get new music from artists all the time and I download new music all the time from people because I want to kind of stay current and not have my, when I DJ, even if I'm just DJing for the people on Twitch, I don't want that shit to be stale. I don't want to play the same 50 songs over and over and over again. And so maybe it's a function of being to the extent that I still am in the music industry, but I'd be willing to bet that you'd be hard pressed to find people in the music industry saying the kind of shit that Eric's saying about modern music.
Yep. Yeah, I think one thing that would definitely like keep me from thinking that kind of stuff is I'm a huge fan of cartoons. And when I think back to like the cartoons that existed in my childhood, like they were fine when I was a kid, but like, God, they fucking sucked.
In some ways.
Like Rocko's Modern Life was my favorite cartoon as a kid. And I tried to watch that as an adult. And I was like, this cartoon is terrible, like legitimately terrible.
But then there's other stuff. There's other stuff from our youth, right? Like you go back and watch an old episode of Gem and you realize that shit was incredibly queer coded, and that as a kid you wouldn't have been able to really grok that, you know?
True. There were great cartoons back then, but I do feel like the industry, like the American cartoon industry, is in such a better place now than it was when I was a kid. Like the cartoons that are coming out now are just so fucking good. Well, like a lot of them. Some of them are bad, but there are so many good cartoons now. So yeah, this notion of like everything sucks, art is terrible now is like, he's so fucking wrong.
It's like it's the most boomer fucking shit you could ever fucking say. And speaking of speaking of that, HK, are you ready to close this fucker out?
I am. Yes. All right, this is our Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific live showing of The Intellectual Dollar Tree. If you're listening to us on the podcast, then come around sometime live and check us out. After this show, we go on to do Red Light, and you can join us for that. You can also check out our other shows at echoplexmedia.com, and if you'd like to support us, you can do that on patreon.com/echoplex. And you can also support us at eplex.store, where not only do you get to support us, but you also get discounts on all our awesome merch. Now a song that could have been written for Eric Weinstein. It's Boomers by Periscope.